You're seeing people shot dead, you're putting bullets in people's legs, you're getting caught up in horrendous violence, and you don't think twice about it until I couldn't handle it, trying to get in front of a doctor.
That's how bad it got.
That's how bad it is.
Even now?
On a daily.
I was going to ask you how you're feeling now, but...
On a daily, mate.
You're still struggling with
I'm
it?
battling suicide regular. There's no snitches, don't snitch. The biggest gangsters in your city have been grassing and informing on everyone for decades. That's a massive misconception for the youth.
You mentioned something interesting, Darren, before about immigration.
You said they're not educated. I won't take that. It doesn't mean that they're racist. You know, they're just worried about...
Going from 70k a week to struggling financially, have you ever been tempted to go back to your old lifestyle? Welcome to Your Camel, all about grinding today for a better tomorrow. So if that's your kind of jam, make sure you hit that subscribe button. All right, man, today we got a special guest, Darren Gee in the building. How's it going, bro?
Sammy, good to be here, eventually. Bit of a long morning, but I'm here now, aren't I, mate?
It's all good, man. It's all good. I'm glad you're here, man. We had a bit of a, we had to take precautions getting you here, innit? That's basically in case the audience are wondering what's happening. But,
yeah, I think you recommended one place to me. It was in the back streets in Manchester somewhere. So I can't be coming out of there when it's dark.
Yeah.
So you don't know what you're going to come across in these studios, do you?
100%. You're coming in blind, aren't you, at the end of the day?
You're coming in blind, exactly. Yeah. So you don't know what you're walking into. So when I walk into something so professional like this, it makes me feel good.
Puts you a bit at ease, innit? Yeah. So I've got a bit of a challenge today, right? So I want to tap into people that haven't heard your story, but at the same time give your returning viewers some new perspective and insight on your views, etc. So we'll do our best to accommodate those objectives, right? But check this out, Darren, for the madness. Yeah, I put in Chat GPT, who is Darren Gee, and this is what it come out with. They gave me a little intro.
Well, yeah, let's hear this.
This is mad. I did not make this myself, by the way, guys. So check this out for the madness. So it's quite lengthy, but bear with me. Darren Gee is a former criminal from Liverpool, UK, who gained notoriety for his involvement in gang activities and was convicted for the murder of an innocent man in the early 2000s. After serving time in prison, Darren transformed his life and became an advocate for peace, focusing on discouraging young people from a life of crime. He now spreads a message of positivity through campaigns like Choose a Life, Not a Knife, where he warns against violence, gang involvement and knife crime. Darren often shares his experience and reflections on platforms like YouTube, aiming to help others avoid the path he once walked. His journey offers a powerful perspective on how someone can turn their life around despite the depths of their previous actions.
Well, that's powerful, that, mate.
That's AI, bro.
And what do you do? Just type into that and it'll come back with this about you?
Literally, you
can
type
you do that
in.
on Alexa? I've seen people say, who's, and it gives them the detail. Is that what will come out there?
Basically, Chat GPT, you can use it for multiple purposes, but I used it clearly for being a personal assistant for me. But that's mad. What's your thoughts on AI, just out of curiosity, man?
I think it's going to make a lot of people dumb. It's going to make the new generations of children dumb.
I hear you. Look what normal social media did. Do you know what I mean?
It's going to take a lot of things away from the human psyche, if you like, that the human psyche needs to go through to be on the ball sort of thing.
100%. But check this out. I was going to the Wembley Stadium for Anthony Joshua versus Daniel Dubois. I don't know if you've seen the fight.
Look at you, mate.
Yeah, I went the first fight. I thought, let me experience it live. It was a good fight, man. And I was just chatting to my friend, basically just saying to him, remember cassette days? Yeah. Right? Cassette days. And we were saying to each other, imagine you can, basically describing to him what, FaceTime, a video call. Imagine you can video call someone and they're in a different place. Lo and behold, bloody a few years later, FaceTime came out, the first iPhone came out and all that kind of stuff. So imagine what AI is going to do, man. It's crazy.
But no one questions it, do they?
Yeah.
All of a sudden we've got FaceTime. You can speak to someone in Australia in the present moment, but no one questions it. Oh, look at this technology and that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that new technology. And then they don't question it.
Yeah.
How?
I suppose they phase it in, innit? They phase it in. So it's not like a big shock.
Slowly.
Yeah.
Like they do with everything. They can't. If they throw something at the masses, there's just shock and awe, isn't there? So they like to
ease it in.
heighten your tolerance towards what they're slowly easing into society.
100%. Do you know what? My initial thoughts are, I wonder what the effects is going to be when it comes to mental health. And to be honest, like, no one's asked you this question. Like, how is your mental health at the moment?
I've been my mental health now.
Yeah.
With regards to
just
everything that's gone on.
everything.
My mental health is up and down.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm able to contain it easily. Sometimes it's a struggle to contain it. And to contain what? I don't even know, to be honest with you. I think that's what mental health is. You don't really know what you're dealing with. They can tell you you've got anxiety. They can tell you you've got depression. But them two words are not the emotions you're feeling. So you might have depression and have deep, horrendous emotions that bother you. And I might have depression and I won't have as deep, horrendous emotions as what you're getting.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Same with anxiety.
Because you mentioned to me off camera that you've been diagnosed with PTSD.
Yeah, I've been, a month ago I was diagnosed.
Yeah.
Now, I've been dealing with it for years, just not knowing how severe it was. And this is what happens when you're young. When you're in your 19, 18, 20, 21, you're going through a madness, you're seeing people shot dead, you're putting bullets in people's legs, you're getting caught up in horrendous violence towards next human beings, and you don't think twice about it until later on.
Yeah.
15 years down the line, 20 years down the line, then it hits you like a pebble on the jaw.
It's accumulation of all these emotions over the years that just hit you.
That you've buried.
That you buried.
That you've buried in that world, because that world's completely different from this world.
Yeah.
If you understand what I'm saying. So when you're in that world, you can't show your weaknesses. So every sort of weak altercation you get into, you've got to represent yourself and put yourself out there like you're handling this like a man, nothing's bothering you. And you just bury it. But then later on, when you start mature and you're coming away from them people and that way of life, you start getting into that period of time where you're realising an awful lot that you've gone through, and you start realising very deep, and I keep on reiterating to people, it's touch and go. Every man's going to get into this realisation phase, whether you're a criminal or whether you're not a criminal. And that realisation phase, I've had it, and I'm still struggling with it. It makes you look back.
Yeah.
It has you looking right back, and if you've got children, wow, the impact. If you haven't provided for your kids correctly, if you've been going out on the piss every Friday, getting drunk and doing all this mad shit for years, and now you're thinking you fucked your kid's life up, you have.
It's like a cycle as well, isn't it? That continues.
Yeah. Once you realise that you've fucked you up for your kids, it's a hard pill to swallow, and there's a lot of men unliving themselves up and down the country. There's loads of people unliving themselves, and people are thinking, why is he just gone? Why has he just gone? Why has he had everything? It's that moment of realisation in your life, and if you're not big and strong enough to take that on the chin, if you've had a good life and you've provided this and you've worked all your life and you haven't damaged people along your way and all this stuff, you probably won't go through much of a realisation phase. You won't unlive yourself, you won't go in depression.
Yeah.
But if you've led a traumatic life, like the majority of the people I'm relating to now, later on, as you get older, it's going to hit you. So the best advice I can give you is 19, 20, 21, don't harm no one. Don't make no one suffer. Definitely don't get involved in fatalities through drug crimes and shit like this, because it hits you on the chin later on.
Yeah, that's so interesting, Darren. And for the audience that's wondering, like, what is Darren talking about? The new audience, I mean, don't worry, we'll get into the story a bit later in a bit more detail. But I'm curious with the PTSD, Darren, like, you know, there's two schools of thoughts. Some people say it's genetics, right? Regardless if you have a good life, as you mentioned there, or you didn't hurt anyone, you're still going to be affected. And the other school of thought is, you know, you get these type of experiences, as you articulated as well, through your life experiences of what you've done in the past. Which one do you think it is
Both.
for you? Bit of both. Do you think it's genetics as well?
I mean, I'd take it away from the genetic side of things.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's PTSD when it's a psychological trait which has come through the family. I don't think it's really PTSD on that.
Yeah.
I believe all PTSD stems from trauma. A traumatic situation in one person's life. That's why it's called post-traumatic stress disorder, because it's a traumatic, stressful situation you've had buried, and it comes back to the forefront later on in life. That's what's happened with me.
Yeah.
So For 3 years, my head's been going. So I went through my jail not feeling like this. Went through my 18-year prison sentence not feeling like this. Got out of my 18-year prison not feeling like this. And then someone tried to kill me on the 17th of March 2018. And that event reopened another event in 2004 where my brother was put in a coma and my mate was shot dead next to me. Now, I buried that when I was 23.
Right.
Went into my 18-year prison sentence.
Yeah.
Got out of that. Another shootings happened, which was very similar to that one 15 years before.
Yeah.
And what I'd buried 15 years before, on the back of this incident, just ripped it open. And I couldn't handle it. So for 3 years of being lost, trying to get in front of a doctor, COVID kicked in, loads of things that was helping move me appointments away from me getting seen to.
How did that, when you say you lost and it all burst open, what did that look like in real life? How did it manifest itself in reality?
Basically, it's a battle for your life, mate. When you hear people saying, I'm fighting for my life here, they haven't got a clue what the fuck they're saying, mate. The real battles are in here. The real warrior is made in here through your spirit, through your energy. It's not what you do in the external world. The real battles of life are all in here. And that's basically what it was, mate. It was a battle of not unliving myself.
That's how bad it got?
That's how bad it is.
Even now?
On a daily.
I was going to ask you how you're feeling now, but...
On a daily, mate.
You're still struggling with
I'm
it?
battling suicide regular.
For those who are experiencing similar thoughts or sort of in a similar situation, what advice could you give them to get them through it, get by, and take another day, or take one day at a time?
What happens is you lose yourself. You lose your identity. You get lost in this world that's not your own. It's someone else's. And then when you realise... The biggest advice I can give to people is do not lose your identity of who you are, where you came from, that character your parents instilled in you, and love yourself. Love yourself before you love others. A lot of people who deflect the feelings care for others instead of caring for themselves.
Yeah. And
I went missing. I started caring about everything else instead of myself and got lost in there, and that impacted on the strength of me when it comes to suicidal tendencies.
Would you say there's anything missing in your life? You seemed like, if I were to give advice
I'll tell you
like,
what's missing, mate.
Go on.
Love. It's the only thing that's missing in my life since a kid.
Love from family, friends, other half, these kind of loves, or...
I don't even know what real love is, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because it's like everyone that's told you they've loved you is shit on you. So them feelings
that's so interesting.
of love, they don't seem like they're the real feelings, because if you love someone, you don't shit on them, isn't it?
This is a good segue to go into your childhood, because I believe that what happened in your childhood kind of manifests itself later on in life.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Definitely does.
And I know you talked about extensively, but we'll give an overview of the new guys who are, listening to your story for the first time. Just describe what was your household like when you were growing up. What was the childhood like and upbringing?
Well, we're 5 lads, a mum, a dad who's never in the house, pisshead. Mum's now a pisshead, so 5 young lads living on a council estate with alcoholics as parents. They didn't really start being alcoholics till 12, 13, 14, do you understand? But
right.
Living with, if you've been in such an environment with alcoholic parents, you know how volatile, how aggressive and how manipulative they can be towards the children. And that's basically what we suffered, tied to the bed. So normal kids, to be disciplined, they'll probably get shouted at and get things took away from them. Me and Daniel, which is me, I've got a brother called Darren Gee, and me and Daniel are the same age, so I'll be 24. No, he'll be 24 at the beginning of November with me, and then I'll change to 25 in December. So for a month of that, we're the same age, me and Danny.
Right.
So when it comes to me and Danny, our forms of discipline from our dad was like tied to the bed, whipped with a belt, punched heavy. Dad was a heavy-handed man.
Yeah.
You know, we used to get battered, me and Danny.
I heard the hiding was so bad that people down the street could hear you screaming.
Yeah, they could, yeah.
Yeah.
The neighbours used to come to the house and stop us from getting attacked and that. And that's basically all this time. There's madness going on round us as kids as well. So, you know, there's historical abuse that kicks in, which weren't realised till a few years ago. So now I don't speak to my mum because she lied to me about a certain member of the family that wasn't a member of the family, and he was abusing us when we were kids. So it's just all, at the end of the day, we had 5 kids. By the time of 13, we dragged into care, and then that's us.
You know what's crazy, bro? Like, I've got kids, as you know, right? And, you know, you can't imagine anything happening to your kids. Even if eyelash hair goes into the eye, you get worried. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That to me is love. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Might be excessive.
I'm the same. No, I'm the same.
Do you know what I mean?
My girl goes to fall, I'm panic mode.
Do you know what I mean? So the thought of harming your kids is alien to me. So, like, this is what I want to highlight to people, that the type of environment that Darren grew up in, because people wonder why do people go into crime? Why do people do this? You have to understand the history. You have to understand these little nuances. Do you know what I mean? It's very important.
It's all about the environment the children are being raised in, which depends on what way in life they're going, mate.
Yeah.
As simple as that. If I was born 2 doors down, I'd probably be a CEO of a business now, because I was raised in the house with 2 alcoholics. I was a CEO of crime, basically.
Yeah. How did you make sense of it as a child? Obviously, you're able to understand it in reflection, in hindsight.
Normal.
Was it?
When you're a child, it's
yeah.
normal. You don't know the difference. You know, you're getting beat up every morning. You think every kid in the street's getting beat up every morning. You'd only start to realise that you're different by the materials.
Yeah.
So when on Christmas Day, when you're coming from a poor household whose parents are alcoholics, you guaranteed you haven't got decent Christmas clothes, you haven't got decent trainers. And when you go out as a child onto your estate, Christmas Day,
yeah.
everyone's got brand new clothes on, brand new stylish designer logos, and you're the poor kid.
Yeah.
And you can feel how different these kids are being raised towards you.
So during that vulnerable time, right, what do you think you needed the most that may have changed the trajectory of your life? Is it leadership? Is it, good parenting, for example?
That's all.
That's
Love
all
and
it is,
care.
yeah. Love and care. Summed up nicely, to be fair.
Simple as that, mate. Love and care is all you need when you're a kid. If you're not getting that, you're going off rails.
So we hear this rhetoric all the time, right, that you always have a choice, right? But to me, Darren, and we talk about your initiation into crime.
Depends how old you are.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. But when this was happening and you eventually got expelled from school, right? Obviously, you're bringing that negative energy into the school. Teachers are probably wondering, like...
Well, no. I'm getting abused at home and I'm letting it out in school.
Letting it out, that's probably the better way to present it, yeah.
What the teachers should have been doing as professionals who's got children in their care should be recognising something's wrong with this kid. You can spot it a mile away when a kid's getting physically or sexually abused. You can spot it a mile away. So when you've got a kid in a classroom who's all of a started acting out of character, you know, you're meant to recognise, you're not meant to make it worse.
Yeah.
So I started misbehaving in school. Instead of recognising what was happening at home, it just made me a trouble kid. And then you're in the system then as a troubled kid.
Exactly, that's what I mean. So they don't know, like, this person is going through something at home. Do you know what I'm trying to say? They just think it's a disruptive kid. And this is why I know I'm going a bit deep with your childhood, but I want people to recognise...
Go as deep as your life, mate.
Do you know what I mean? I want people to understand, like, look, these are things, these are symptoms that you need to look out for, and you potentially have the, power to change someone's life just by giving them a bit of love.
You know what it's like? That kid, that quiet kid, I was the quiet kid. I'm the one that sits there and everyone else is loud. You know, watch him, because he's dealing with shit and he needs your help. Especially if he's your son and all of a sudden he's just developed this quietness about him. Yeah. Something's gone on. Don't just let him sit there silent. Something's gone on. If you don't address it when they're children, it's going to impact on the teenage years, guaranteed.
Yeah. It's going to come out in ugly ways, right?
When it comes to choices, when you're able to think for yourself, you can make choices. When you're not able to think to yourself, you can't make no choices. And I weren't able to think for myself until I was placed in care, basically.
Yeah.
And even then, you're not making choices for yourself.
Yeah. And that's another thing, by the way, because the situation at home was so bad to the point where social services got involved, right?
Yeah.
And social services only get involved, like I said, when it's really bad because
Oh, yeah, they were all over us.
they don't have the resources to take on kids. Do
They
you
were
know what I
all
mean?
over us, mate. So we were
Yeah.
placed, we were all separated then.
Yeah.
So basically, my brother Danny burnt the house down.
Mm.
Set our house on fire early hours in the morning, which destroyed the whole house.
Yeah.
We were lucky to be saved. But from that, the social services have kicked back in and separated us all. So they sent, there's 5 brothers, sent one brother down there, another brother down there, sent me and Danny to a hotel in the city centre, and sent another brother down there, and then me ma and dad went to an hostel somewhere.
Yeah.
And it was about 6 or 7 weeks until me and Danny eventually got took back to our mother's house, which was a bail hostel
Right.
for people who were suffering domestic abuse and drink problems,
Yeah.
and the children. So it was a place called Langtree House. We ended up in Langtree House. Last 2 months, smashed a few windows, and then got dragged into care.
How old was you at that point?
13.
13. And that was roughly the time when you got expelled from school, is it?
No, because I got expelled from school, and then I was from 12, basically. So the first year seniors, I lasted a day in first year seniors. I got expelled from junior school, and then you'd have that break before you go back and then go into senior school.
Yeah.
I got expelled from junior school, had that break, went to senior school for 2 days, and then got expelled, and then I was suspended for 12 months.
Right.
During that 12 months, on the streets, all my age category is still going to school. The only people on the streets are the 19, 21-year-old lads that have already done the school and now they've got no job. There's dealing drugs on the estate. I'm out of school. I'm on the estate. The only group of people to communicate and mix with on that estate is this group of drug dealers. So now I'm
Yeah.
in there. It didn't take them long before they give me a cannabis joint. Once I've had that cannabis joint, now I come dependent upon that group for the weed that I'm smoking every day now but can't afford because I'm a kid. So now you're running around for this group because you want your weed, and this group can have you doing all sorts because you're basically a child heroin addict, but it's cannabis.
Right.
So they can have you running around doing all sorts for this cannabis.
Yeah. And for you, it was really survival because you got kicked out of school. You know, you need to hang around with someone.
You got to think, I'm kicked out of school,
Yeah.
and the minute I wake up in the house,
Yeah.
I'm getting kicked out the fucking house.
Exactly.
So as soon as I'm awake and got clothes on, my ma's kicking me out the house, get out!
Yeah.
And I'm just wandering on the streets with fuck all to do. So
You stuck to them lads
you
for
start
survival.
mixing with these lads, and then
Yeah.
these lads manipulate you, groom you, and
Yeah.
start making you participate into a certain way of life. And then once you're so deep into that life, you do get opportunities to swerve it. You do get options to think, hang on, what am I doing here? Shouldn't be doing this, blah, blah, blah. But because the money, because now you're eating, because now you're wanted in this little group, the love and care I weren't getting at home all of a sudden appeared on this group sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it was like, drove me towards the love and care of this group. When it weren't love and care, it was just pure...
Yeah. Well, that's what you
being
thought it
used.
was at the time, right?
Yeah, but loads of kids go into this situation thinking this is love and care.
Yeah.
And then when they get to 14, 15, 16, they realise these are being used on me.
Yeah.
And what you've got a lot of now is these organised crime groups, drug dealing groups, who's got kids like me at 13. These kids are on with these 25-year-olds, and they're getting to 17, 18 and going, hang on, you've used me, and switching.
Yeah.
And starting to have gang wars with these for the turf and all this stuff.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is, like, before 19, you were against the idea of selling drugs.
Yeah, dead against it, but I was doing too much jail.
Yeah. And that's what changed your mind.
Yeah, we're game.
Yeah.
We're a violent little group of brothers because we've been raised in a violent environment.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we were just known as game and ready for violence. We weren't known as money makers. But we both burgled a lot of commercial premises. You know, like thresher stores, off licenses, and done what we can there, made a lot of money out of it, but we were just getting too much jail.
Yeah.
And then we'd get out, and all the lemons, all the plant pots off the wing, off the estate, I've got all the nice cars, never going to jail. Do you understand what I mean? So I just thought, well, fuck this. If they can tap into it, so can I.
That lifestyle seemed attractive then, innit?
Yeah, definitely.
The nice cars,
less jail,
the watches,
more money.
More money.
Less jail, more money. That's all that need. That's all you need to be attracted to that.
Yeah, you mentioned violence there, keyword. So initially, when you got into the drug game, no one would supply you drugs, right?
Well, this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So we were just violent, us, and we upset a lot of gangsters. Before we even tapped into dealing drugs, we were upsetting all the local gangsters because of who we were attacking, and we didn't care if we were attacking them. So we created a lot of enemies when we were kids.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've got to start tapping into the drugs. So when we start seeing the opportunities for us, we start approaching the local head honchos, if you like, who supply the whole area with their drugs. And we go, bang, we need swag, we want to tap into this. And they're going, no, you're not getting none. And if you're from a certain area, like where I'm from, you know, if they say you're not getting none, you're not getting nothing. You've got to forge yourself. You've got to forge your own little path in there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So in my area...
You haven't established yourself, right?
Right,
basically.
Someone else established it for them.
Yeah.
We're trying to establish ourselves here. So we're up against people who haven't established fuck all. They're living off their dad's names. So you've got people like the Farleys. They've got a crazy reputation that they had to live up to because of their dads.
Yeah.
Their dads, the twins, forged that path of criminality for their sons to just flow down easily. So they've sewn everything up. So now you've got the new crime family in the area trying to forge their own way, not living on the back of anyone else's reputation like these.
Yeah.
And they're just making it solid for us. So we had no other choice other than, hang on, we're tapping into this. Just because they're saying we can't have swag doesn't mean we can't tap into it. So we just started identifying certain individuals who were making money around our little estate, you know, selling to the dealers and that. They were all for these Farleys, like, you know, the main men in the area. And we just started picking them off.
Essentially robbing their supplies.
Not robbing them.
Robbing them, exactly.
Taking them off the street, torturing them.
Right.
Where's your stash? Where's your fucking gaff? Going back, getting a gaff and then leaving him. And then we'd get madness off these because we've robbed one of his drug dealers.
Yeah.
And then we'd just go... Every time we robbed this drug dealer, we'd go to that drug dealer and sell him it. So we'd rob this drug dealer, go to him, sell him the swag. Drug dealer, sell him the swag. Drug dealer, sell him the swag. Drug dealer, sell him the swag. It got to the point where there was no one else to rob. And every time we were trying to cough for someone, they were on us straight away. You know, we came bang on in that area.
Yeah.
So we only had one person left to rob. The dog that had been buying all his mates' drugs off us. So he's their mate who's buying all their drugs. He's still their mate, you're on it.
Yeah.
So we had no choice now but to rob him. So we've robbed him, got the swag, put it into bits. I got myself on a mountain bike, got myself a phone, and then started selling drugs.
That's your initiation ultimately into this
and that's
whole
where
space.
then I'm off then, and it just leads into this big crazy gang war.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of a quote, there's no honour among thieves.
Definitely not.
And this is the reality of this space, right?
Listen.
Let's call it for what it is, right? You're robbing potentially your supplier, essentially, or vice versa. They're robbing you. Do you know what I mean? It's a madness.
There is definitely no honour. It's not thieves, mate. There's no honour amongst criminals,
Criminals,
mate.
full stop, yeah.
Yeah, there's no honour amongst criminals. That's the way it is now. You know, your best mate, using a pair of drug dealers, your best mate is banging your bird behind your back. If you weren't a pair of drug dealers criminally minded, your mate would tell you, your bird's trying to bang me, lad. In that world, your mate's banging your bird. It's just a mess. Snitches all over the gaff. That's another thing you hear. There's no snitches, don't snitch, don't snitch.
Yeah.
The biggest gangsters in your city have been grassing and informing on everyone for decades.
Yeah.
That's fact.
That's a misconception, right?
That's a massive misconception for the youth.
100%.
No one grasses, everyone's loyal. It's all bullshit. So it's all a way of just dragging them kids into a secure, what they believe, secure brotherhood type of, you know, situation there.
So we'll fast forward a little bit and go to the height of your criminal activities, meaning at one point you were making like 70k a week.
It comes and goes. You know, you start off not having nothing.
Yeah.
And then you start making decent dough. And then you start going into this lifestyle. Like, you were quite happy wearing a pair of £50 workout classics. but now you're dealing dough. You want a pair of trainees for 250 quid.
Yeah.
Instead of being happy with your Nike t-shirt or whatever, now you want a Moncler. And back then, it was Prada, Hugo Boss, Paul Le Shark, Lacoste, all expensive designer labels.
Yeah.
Then your cars, then your watch, your bracelet, then when you're going out and you're buying food. Plus, you've got a lot of wages. So, yeah, I'm making 50 to 70 bags a week.
Yeah.
But there was like 20 bags of that going out in wages.
Right.
And then 20 bags it was for more product.
Mm.
Do you understand? So
yeah, do you know what's interesting? What you just highlighted there, because there's a lot of similarities between drug dealing and business.
it's exactly the same.
It's pretty much like operations,
Look,
marketing, competition.
It's all about man management.
Yeah.
You know, it's all about punctuality, the ethic.
Yeah.
So everything's there. It's a business model.
It is. It's a dog-eat-dog world as well.
If
do you know what I mean?
So it's like any business model. You'll have employees and the employer.
Yeah.
And that's the same with these drug dealing groups. You know, you'll have the employees and the employer. The employer in this group, if he completely changed his mind into a business aspect of living, the skills that he's picked up on the streets in this type of business will help him massively over there in the legal world. They just don't realise it.
100%. Have you thought about putting your skills transferred over to a legitimate business?
Yeah, I've been trying. I'm entrepreneurial. You know, I've got myself a clothing line. I've had that for 6 years. But the path I've gone down, speaking about organised crime groups and the damage that they're doing to our city and stuff, and other cities around the country, you know, organised crime groups, they are the poison within our communities. The drug dealers, the ones that distribute Class A drugs to the kids and the women in your... These are the real dangerous thing in our communities. Ignore the immigration, ignore the terrorism threat, ignore all this. On your step, in your community, for your people, the biggest risk for you and the safety of your children on your estate is from that organised crime group that's stealing the drugs.
Yeah.
And putting violent scenes and scenes of crime on your estates and shootings and cuttings and doors getting kicked in. This is all down to drug dealing.
Yeah.
The biggest problem on our estates is drug dealing. Look at how many kids are going into prison for drug dealing. Look at how many families are broken down through drug dealing. Look how many mums have lost their children because their sons have been shot dead and no one's been brought to justice for it. Yeah. This is all the organised crime groups' fear on your estate.
100%. I think drugs is definitely one of the poisons in society. So, for example, like I look at society as like a family being a brick. And you get so many bricks that make the foundation of a wall, for example, or an entire wall. That's your society, right? Now, you get too many broken families, what happens to the wall?
It's falling down.
It's going to fall down. It's going to collapse, right? I think drugs is definitely, and I like how you now have a disgust for it, right? You've come from that world, so you can articulate it. You lived it.
I've distributed narcotics.
Yeah.
I've created victims. I've created addicts.
Yeah.
I've broke down families. I've had kids going to jail for dealing drugs. I've had kids going to jail for using violence over drugs.
Yeah.
I've been deep in that bullshit, you know, and a lot of these kids that you look at now, they're deep in the same mess and don't realise it. Yeah. They just don't realise it. It's like any child that gets conditioned into a way of living. You don't realise the damage you're doing until you're old enough. And some of them are realising too late.
Yeah.
And it takes them 15 years to correct their ways. Instead of being 16, 17, listening to someone like me screaming at you, tap out of it. Come away from that life now. Don't wait till you're 25 and skint full of trauma. Come away from it now. Get on that path of life over there and sort your head out. Have children, get a family, and just have a peaceful stage of life, because that's all this is. This is one stage of life. Yeah. Everyone, for some reason, seems to think that they're going to die, end up in a coffin, and that is the end of it. And that's why people are living to a demise. You know, people are living to an ending that's destructive instead of an ending that's happy.
Yeah, 100%. So many things, so many gems you put out there, man. Plus, you got you got to keep watching your back every 2 seconds, right?
You've got the feds casing you. You've got your enemies casing you. Yeah. You've got anyone that sees you earning a bit of dough casing you.
Yeah.
If your George, if your graph phone is now stepping on their toes, now you've got another firm that's looking. It's just horrendous. You're always looking over your shoulder. You'd end up out of 100 big crime figures, 200 out of 100 of them, maybe 8 will reach that status of being a millionaire. But even when they've reached that status of being a millionaire, a couple of years later, you see them arrested, all the properties took off them, 20 years in jail, at 45 years old, finished.
Got Pablo Escobar, for example.
Exactly. If you're 19 running around with guns on your estate and you shoot him in the leg and you get a 20 and you're 22, you're not getting out the system till you're 42.
Yeah.
It's not good for you, mate. It's just not good for you, mate, honest to God.
Yeah, 100%. You mentioned something interesting, Darren, before about immigration. They're not the problem. These are all distractions, you can call it, right? They try and divide and conquer. We all hear this, right? Do you know what? The one thing that came into mind when you said that is, you know Tommy Robinson?
Yeah.
Right, obviously, you know Tommy Robinson.
Stephen Yaxley, his real name,
That's
isn't
his
it?
real name, exactly, right. And if I'm being completely honest, you know, if you look at his target audience, they're not educated or they're not really the most brightest, you can call it, right? And forgive me for saying this, right, but when you're younger days, you're like the perfect target audience, right? But you didn't fall for that rhetoric. So
His rhetoric?
Yeah.
I've been on it. I've been on him for years, mate.
But this is what I'm so impressed about your mindset. So I want to know how you came to the conclusion of not falling for that. Where's your prime target, meaning that, you know, jobless. We talked about your childhood briefly, didn't we? No opportunities. So when like Tom Robinson say, "Oh, Muslims are taking our jobs, immigration are taking our jobs," you know, they're like, it's like. If I was in that situation, I'd be like, yeah, they are. Like, I've got an opportunity because of these cunts.
It looks
But
as
you
if
you didn't fall for that rhetoric. So I'm wondering.
Because you've got to be a person who's willing to discriminate against another person if you think down that line.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, I believe his story is he's from Luton. There was a huge influx of Islam in Luton back in the day. He didn't like it, started running his mouth off, got attacked by the brothers down there and left Luton, and he hasn't got over it since.
Yeah.
And from that day on, his whole intention is to harm the Islamic community.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's driving his narrative into other areas now. I'm doing it to protect the children. Nah, you're just jumping on protecting the children shout.
Yeah.
He's done these documentaries where he's exposing criminal gangs in Bradford and other places or wherever about how it's being groomed, and when in reality he's not exposing nothing because all them groups were already arrested, already investigated, already done in that process.
Yeah.
You're just re-highlighting things that have already been established, so you're not protecting kids at all.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So
He's there, he's funded by
you know who?
the powers that be, basically.
Yeah.
He is what he is.
Yeah.
He's there to divide. He's not there. He's bringing unity to a small select group in this country.
Yeah.
And you said they're not educated. I won't take that. The majority of the people that are following him are educated. They're just shit scared, worried, and they've got no one that's willing to stand on a pedestal and be a voice. And to them people, there is loads of uneducated people amongst them.
Yeah.
But to these educated people, they've got insecurities, mate.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that they're racist. It doesn't mean that they're discriminating. You know, they're just worried about their way of life. And the only person that seems to be screaming and shouting about anything is this fucking Yaxley kid.
Yeah. The way it's shown on screen, I understand why there's concerns, right? Obviously, a lot of them is false and it's rhetoric, where it's propaganda, I would say, a lot of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, let me just chip in there, mate. Sorry for interrupting you, but
No, go on.
you've got loads of people going, foreigners are taking our jobs,
Yeah.
foreigners are taking our jobs. Well, what I'm seeing a lot of foreign people taking positions, taking jobs that they're qualified to take.
Yeah.
So, for example, you'll have say you've got 50 African kids who's come in, or 50 Afghanistans that's come in. When they land here, they just don't go on the benefits. You know, they're encouraged to get qualifications, to get employment. A lot of them are going into the security sector
Yeah.
because they're easy to get. An SIC card, simple to get, isn't it? So a lot of these foreign people are going into these things, getting these SIC cards and then getting employed and standing on your Tesco. So now on your Tesco's and your Asda's, you've got foreign security guards who can just about speak English, telling English people, addicts who are thieving and treating them like shit. So to a lot of people in their little closed minds, they're looking at these jobs getting filled by foreign people who are qualified
Yeah.
and hating on it. Half of the people who are hating have got the opportunity to go and sit in that course for 6 weeks.
That's key.
And go and get that job, just like that immigrant.
Yeah.
You're deciding not to.
Yeah.
And now you're hating on a person that's deciding to get off his ass and go to.
Yeah.
And that's like a big proportion of the hate, is because they're not realising you can get that job if you want it. You just got to get off your ass and get the qualification like he has.
So there's an element of taking accountability and responsibility as well.
Well, this is what you're getting with the immigrants.
Yeah.
All right, you get 1,000 immigrants. Let's say 5 are bad apples.
Yeah.
The rest of them are coming here to lead a better life, get employment and have a family. That's what you need to understand.
Yeah.
If this country got invaded now, you get a lot of people going, well, why is it just men on these boats? Why is it all men on these boats? And that's amplifying the conspiracy theorists, if you like. And the way I look at it is this. If I was in a country, if this country was getting blitzed by a different power base around the world, bombing us, obliterating all our houses, all our livelihoods,
Yeah.
and I had an opportunity to travel the channel and get to France and be looked after, get housing, get this, get that, and get my children back who have left.
Yeah.
I'm not, as a man in a war-torn country, going to say to my young children and my wife, we're all getting on this boat and we're going to try and survive and get across. I'm going to say to my children and my wife, you stay here, make sure you're safe, and I'm going to get us out of here. Then I'll get on that boat and then I'll travel them waters and I'll land in my destination and do all I can to get employed, get the qualifications I need and get the residency I need to get my children and my wife to a safe country.
Yeah.
So 80% of these men on these boats have that intention. You know, they're taking this big risk across the channel to get here so they can get the children and their family out of this war. And any man who's got a woman and children underneath them will go to them levels to protect them.
Yeah. Yeah, look, to be fair, there are some valid concerns. I'm not going to go into it right now, to be fair.
There's like every apple cart, you've got a bad apple amongst it.
Exactly.
So, you know, you can't generalise and stereotype a whole community on the back of the actions of us. So Scousers get a bad name around the country because you've had heroin addicts who are Scousers going to these parts of the country thieving till there's nothing left. And then when a normal Scouser gets there, they hear the Scouse voice, instantly the people there think, oh, here's a Scouser, he's going to rob us.
Yeah.
And it's the same with like Islam and Muslims.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got an Islamic person or a Muslim person doing an incident like the taxi driver in Alder Hay Hospital a few years ago blew himself up. You know, there's a lot of naive people that just generalise and stereotype the whole Muslim community on the actions of this one kid.
Yeah. Horrible, man. Horrible.
It's a human deficiency, really, isn't it? You know, there's a lot of people out there that aren't got full capacity as a human, if you like.
Yeah, this is what I was saying before, like it's all like semi-propaganda. What I mean by propaganda, let me just clarify, is because, you know, especially in this social media era that we're living in, we're bombarded, Darren, with so much information, the mind can't take it. So what the mind does is put a barrier up, right? A defensive barrier. It's impossible to change someone's viewpoint, religion, don't even try convincing them. So the question becomes, how do you, in today's society, penetrate the mind and get a message across? And the answer is simple. Is with an oversimplified message. For example, look at Donald Trump. What's his slogan? Make America great again. No one knows what that means, what it looks like, but it's simple. Gets into the mind of the people. Same thing with immigration, right? Immigrants are taking your jobs. Simple, penetrates the mind, your guards down.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like,
it locks you in.
Yeah, so I'm impressed, and this is why I brought this conversation up, because I'm quite impressed that you've seem to like able to decipher this without articulating like that. But
I form opinions on my own perspective, mate.
Right.
And this is what happens when you find yourself again. When you lose your identity and you let your identity be stolen or give your identity up to someone else, you're basically giving the way you think up to someone else.
Yeah.
You know, if you start, you'll see it with kids who are 15, you know, raised with the mum and dad, dressed a certain way, all of a sudden he's now on the streets. He's going out. He's allowed to go out till a certain age. He's mixing with that group up there.
Yeah.
15, 16, 17. Now he's dressing differently. Now he's listening to a different type of music. Now he's going against mum's rules. Now he's coming in half an hour late than when he should do, and he's getting cheeky to mum. And this is that child. All parents seem to think, oh, it's just his teenage years, he'll find himself. No, that's him losing himself. That's him losing his identity. That's him giving his identity up to this group. And once the group are making your son think about what they're doing of a day instead of what he's doing of a day, you've basically lost him.
Yeah.
So you've got loads of lads getting up in the morning not thinking, right, I'm going to do this today and I'm going to get this done today. The first thing they're thinking is, I'm going to ring blah, blah, see what he's doing. And then the whole group will do what they're doing and listen to the same music. If one's smoking weed, they'll all start smoking weed, all listening to drill music.
Yeah.
If you're listening to drill music, it's bringing you into a culture. That culture is harm women, harm children, deal drugs, carry knives, shoot guns.
Exactly. You got to be thoughtful. You got to be vigilant of what's going in here, ultimately.
Yeah,
that's what
you
you're
got to
saying.
protect it. This is your last form of defence, mate.
Yeah.
This is the last form of defence. You don't tell no one nothing about yourself, and they don't know nothing about you.
Yeah. Just to take it back to your story, so we talked about, you know, how drug dealing and entrepreneurship is quite very similar, right? We mentioned that you were making 70k per week, and you kind of changed the game in the drug space, meaning you set up operation different. For example,
we had to.
You formed a 24/7
Yeah, it was like a shop.
Like a shop. So just
we had to, though, because normally you'd either have cars, you'd have the graph phone, you'd have the bits on you in your mouth, you'd shoot round, you'd answer your phone, see the punter, give him your bits, get off. Because of the violence we were participating in and the fact that the police have always hated us due to the violence, as soon as we started tapping into drugs, it was like, let's shut the G's down. So all the other drug weren't getting attacked as much as we was by the police. So they'd start like slamming on in front of the cars, choking the kids out so they can't swallow the food, arresting them, giving them jail. So what we started doing is taking the cars out of the situation, put them on bikes. You're less bang on a bike. That's how it used to be.
Right.
You know, no one else was on bikes. It was just our firm jumped on the bikes. So we started that bike thing off, if you like.
Yeah.
So we've come from the cars onto the bikes so the kids can't get choked and get the swag took off them. And what happened then is the phone. We used to give the kids the phone. So they'd answer the phone themselves and go and shit. So the busy started taking phones off the kids. So we'd have to start a new phone up. And it was just headache after headache after headache. Eventually they got on the kids on the bikes, knocking them off the bikes, choking them, getting them, jailing them. So we just thought, how are we going to combat this fucking harassment of the police?
Yeah.
I know. Fuck the vehicles off. Fuck the phones off. And let's just stand on this estate and do what we're doing here. So that's what we've done.
Yeah.
Off the phones, just started telling everyone, instead of meeting them, we just started saying off the phones, get to the Grazie, get to the Grazie, get to the Grazie, get to the Grazie. A month of that, phones are out the window now. Everyone's just coming to Grazie, coming to Grazie. Do you understand?
Yeah, yeah, and that cut out waiting times.
Yeah,
that kind
it
of
cuts
stuff.
out. Normally, you'd have 3 or 4 heroin addicts standing on the corner waiting for their dealer to come, and it'd take them 20 minutes sometimes. With us cutting that period out, they can get in their taxi from wherever they've got the money from, come to us, get the bits and be gone.
Yeah.
It's like a shop. So we started it began like 9 till 11.
Mm-hmm.
And then my younger brother, Danny, was due out of custody.
Right.
So instead of him going in and out of jail for madness, I've said, look, take the graft on from 11 till 9 in the morning. So now it's a 24/7 graft.
Changing the game.
Yeah, and you can get everything on it. And where the graft was positioned, you've got the red light district just here. Do you understand? We're smack bang in the middle of like...
So location was spot on. Yeah.
Kensington, Scotland Road, and we were just smack bang in the middle. So it was perfect for the customers.
That would have obviously attracted enemies because...
Yeah, because we took all their customers.
Their customers.
Plus, the weight we were dishing out, so most people would be doing a 0.2 on the brown, on the heroin. We started doing 0.3s. Most people started doing 0.1s on the crack. We started doing 0.2s.
Undercutting them.
Undercutting them with potent swag as well. So the gear we were getting was 1010. So that just brought custom anyway. With all that custom coming in, someone was losing it. Someone's phone was dying. Someone weren't making money. And when their money starts going and their customers start disappearing, where are our customers going?
Yeah.
They're all coming to the Grisdale estate. So now we're like in the picture of loads of these drug dealers saying they're robbing our graft, they're robbing our graft. And instead of them coming to us and crying to us, they'd go to their dealers, their hierarchy, and go, they're stopping graft, da, 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 da.
Yeah.
And that's how it worked.
So this, we're talking now at the height of your criminal activity, you can call it, right? And this is where characters like William Moore, Mikey Wright, if I'm not mistaken, came into the picture.
Yeah.
Just for the new viewers, do you want to give an overview where they fit in, how they fit in?
Well, when I've started, we were violent, and we'd upset a loads of groups. And now I'm around this kid called Mikey Wright, and I said we couldn't get swag off no one. We robbed loads. We had a little bit of swag, but we fucked up and we needed swag again. And Mikey was the man to give us swag. So Mikey started giving us swag. Danny realised where Mikey was keeping some of his money. So Mikey's went and put £15,000 in this flat on Scotland Road. And Danny and one of his crackhead mates have kicked Mikey Wright's door in and took the £15,000. This is in year 2000, so it's a bit...
Yeah.
£15,000 then is like 50 now,
That's a lot of
if
money.
you like. Do you understand?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Danny's took that, which has left me in a fucking mess with Mikey. So now I'm having to pay that 15 grand off to Mikey. So when I was buying 9 ounces, let's say, for fucking 3.2 or something, now I'm paying 4.2. So everything I'm paying off him, there's an extra lump on top of it to pay this bill back for Danny. And I got the bill down, and then he just started bullying me. You know, putting more bill on. So I just had enough and went, fuck you. I never said fuck you because I was a little bit shook at him. But then the first opportunity I got, we've gone on a mission with him. Again, some kids have kicked another stash of this Mikey Wright's in Alewood and took 20 grand, AJ and Brittles or someone. And we've been down the South End looking for these 2 kids with Mikey, come across them. There's been a little bit of madness, firearm of a discharge. I've ended up jail for driving while banned.
Right.
And that 3 months gave me the opportunity to come away from Mikey Wright and Mick O'Rourke and all them other little helmets and start my own graft up again. And then it just led on to Willie Moore.
So was he in prison at the time, Willie Moore?
Willie Moore, I used to be with this girl when I was a kid, and her dad was the main head in Liverpool, the biggest gangster in Liverpool. Willie Moore was a partner at that time. That's how I first met Willie Moore.
Right.
I've gone through my life. He shits on Tommy. Tommy's ended up passing away. He's cracked on. He's ended up going to jail for 12 years for kilos of heroin, this Willie Moore.
Right.
During his stint in prison, we've established ourselves. We've got the 24/7 graft going on.
Yeah.
We're making big money. All his people that have been shut down, basically, because we're grafting, we've tethered their people. They can't graft us the way they used to.
Yeah.
So he's come to us and approached us, offered us swag, and he's been jogged on, this Willie Moore, because I'm in with this Silver, his name is Baker, and I'm being loyal to him for the swag. And fucking, because we refused his fucking offer of drugs and bullets and guns and shit.
Just to clarify quickly for the audience in case they missed it. So Willie Moore was in prison for 12 years, did you say?
Yeah, William
Right.
Moore was in prison.
So in that time, you basically locked off Liverpool, Easy Estates, all that kind of stuff.
In that time, North Liverpool was
Yeah.
locked off, basically.
You
Everyone
guys-
was shook, everyone was shit scared. We were the people. So he's got out of jail, trying to tap back into what he'd had it locked off for years, him. He's 44 years old, this kid.
Yeah.
He's a millionaire, basically. He's already there. He's got out of jail and tried to tap back in.
Yeah. Tried to
We've jogged-
reclaim his territory.
We've jogged him on.
Yeah.
Nah, we don't want nothing to do with you. See you in a bit. And he hasn't liked it. And then he's decided to try and steal the graft. So we started putting his brother and his brother's mates trying to rob the customers. So it's gone off.
Yeah. So all that war.
End
then.
up damaging his brother. The brother that came to rob the graft end up damaging him, sending him on his way. 3 weeks later, they put a hit out on me on the 6th of April 2004.
So this is where it gets really, really interesting, right? So just to recap, Willie Moore was in prison. You guys taken over the Liverpool estates, etc., dominated it. He's come out, wants a piece of the pie or action again. You guys weren't having it. had a bit of a feud going back and forth, right?
Yeah.
And at this point, it wasn't clear, but who did it. So should I say it wasn't clear who did it, but there was a assassination attempt on your life, right?
Yeah.
So let's go into that.
Right. So this that altercation happens. What I've just mentioned. I get a phone call off William Moore because I've battered his younger brother. His younger brother was 44 at the time.
Right.
I've weighed him in, sent him on his way for robbing the graft, basically. And then his older brother, Willie Moore, who was 46 at the time, has phoned me. You disrespect my family. Who do you think you are? Ba 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 ba. He's just being told straight, you fat prick. You're a millionaire. You've made your fucking dough. Let us make our money now, you greedy fat bastard. Fuck off. Phone down on him. A few weeks later, they've paid someone called Darren Waterhouse, who was a SAS trained Goldstream guard.
Mad.
He'd had the military cross off the Queen. You know, because he'd rescued his troop from Bosnia. So he'd come under attack in Bosnia with his troop of soldiers and rescued like his platoon of soldiers and was given a military cross. But during his military career, he'd brought drugs back from Colombia and got arrested and was sent to prison. That's where he met Willie Moore.
Right.
When they were both in prison. They
Right.
become good friends whilst in prison. Now Willie Moore's out and he's getting into a bit of beef with us. He sourced his mate from prison to come to Liverpool and shoot me dead. So that was the plot.
Yeah.
On the 6th of April. So I'll just run through it. 6th of April. We'd been on a madness, been to a funeral a few days before and all madness was going on. So we were a little bit off guard. Coming dusk, get a phone call off my mum. Come and get your washing. I had me flat round the corner, my mum done me washing. So we're in this Galaxy, a 2.8 Gaia X Galaxy, decent one, PlayStation's in and that. And we're in Speak, get a phone call off my mum, come and get your washing. So my little brother driving, Ian, Mark behind me, and Craig behind Ian, drive home, come into our close, get me washing. Once we've got me washing, I've said to Craig, who's been playing on the PS, on the head screen, jump in the passenger seat. I want to go with the game.
So you swapped.
So we've swapped seats. Come out to go to me flat. My little brother said, get on the car there with its lights off. So I've said, slam it reverse, let's see. So we've slammed it reverse, so we're like a T. We're all looking at the driver. As we're looking at the driver, the back passenger rear door of the passenger seat opens. You still can't see no one.
Yeah.
The gunman's crawled out. He must have been lying flat on the back seat. Crawled out with his feet first into a crouch position. So even when you're looking at the passenger door, you can't see him through the window. He's crouched behind the door, if you like. He's popped out, let one shot off at the passenger window.
Right.
I've told my little brother to put his foot down and get gone. He's let the clutch out too fast, stalled on the spot. The gunman zigzagged onto the passenger seat window.
Yeah.
And just give it to Craig, point blank down his sternum. Emptied the clip on him. As Craig's trying to get away from him, the gunman's now waist deep, following him. So Craig's trying, that's the window. Craig's trying to get away.
Yeah.
He's gone over the central console, the handbrake and shit, and onto me brother, Ian, who's driving at 18. He's at both 18. So the bullets that have gone through Craig have exited his back, went into my younger brother, filled him up. Some have ricocheted round the car, got the kid sat next to me, and then it just went quiet. Heard a bang where the car screeched off. I've had to jump out the back of the car, open Ian's door with the driver. He's fell out. I've had to pick him up, put him on the back seat, push Craig back over into the passenger seat. Mark has opened the door and ran away screaming down the road. So now I'm driving towards the hospital now. Kicked the door in second gear, red line in it, where there was a bullet lodged in the gearbox. It wouldn't come out of second gear, so now I blew the gearbox up. So now I'm stuck on the spot. First car behind me, I've had to smash her window, drag her out, get Craig in the car and get the hospital. That was on the 6th of April, and by the 18th of May, we've plotted. Someone's being placed in the picture for the that.
Just before you go into that side,
Yeah.
I just want to stay there for a second, right? And get some new perspectives, right? So, first of all, that's a madness. Like, what's happening so fast, you don't have time to even think.
No.
Right.
It was mad.
So
it was
much.
mad. I had loads of time to think on the spot. That's what I'm saying. So, in reality, it took a minute.
Yeah.
So in reality, emptying that clip was bam, 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 bam.
A lot happened in a
But
minute.
in my space,
Yeah.
it was bam, 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 bam. So when I'm in that Jeep, when I'm in that Galaxy, I can see and hear the bullets. Dead slow, but I'm moving fast.
That's crazy.
Everything around me in that van
Yeah.
slowed right down except for me. It was weird. So I could move like I am now, but everything in the car just slowed right down like a big... Everything, all the movements, his face, blood splatting everywhere, it was just all dead slow.
How did that impact you going forward, man? Knowing that...
It didn't, because I buried it, like I was saying earlier on.
Right.
Like all these kids now get involved in similar type crimes. Mightn't be as naughty, but they're similar. You know, there's fatalities, best mates are being shot dead and shit like this. So you just cover it. You're in that life and you're on one.
So even though you knew that that hit was meant for you, it didn't.
Yeah, I knew it was
affect
me. It hit
you.
me. It affected me bad, mate.
Yeah.
But you can't show your weakness when you're a leader of a gang.
But behind closed doors, I mean.
Behind closed doors, I was just sitting there with 2 firearms, smoking opium out of weeds till it went out and caused that conspiracy to murder. Basically,
Right.
I was sitting there like a smackhead off the weed,
Right. Blocking it out, basically.
just smoking too much weed, basically.
Yeah. So you mentioned that happened on the 6th of April.
Yeah.
Right. You have no idea who sent the hit at this point, by the way.
No.
Right. No.
It could be a number of people. Don't forget, we've got enemies everywhere, and this is what people. That's why I said earlier on, don't create enemies because you don't know who's coming to kill you later on.
Yeah. And it was on the 18th of May that you've gone out on the information that you've located
yeah, so on
the
the
person.
18th, on the 18th
Yeah.
of May, on the run up to that, we're trying to find out what's what, where's not, and that.
Yeah,
You know, I'm under pure pressure. You know, I've got my own group of mates who was Craig's mates. I've got Craig's family. What's happening? Something needs to be done. So there's a lot of peer pressure coming in on me to react to what's just gone on
Yeah.
in that situation. So I'm half wanting to do it anyway, but now the peer pressure's making me go out and do it, basically. So I'm being told you need to see something happen. So during that, like 3 weeks from the 6th up until the 18th, I'm getting a lot of information. Eventually, the fella that tried to kill me, William Moore, he's called me and said, sorry about our differences, it was nothing to do with us. He was the driver, put this kid in the picture, this David Regan.
Yeah.
So I'd had his name in my mind for like a week, and then one day I just thought, you know, fuck this, let's just go and get him.
Right.
So on the 18th of May, 2 cars, piece with a silencer on it, floated down 3 o'clock in the afternoon, got him at his place of work, which was a car wash, you know, a drug money laundering business.
Yeah.
Got him at his place of work, jumped out the car. Whoever jumped out the car, he's got on him. He's let a shot off through the car's window screen. He's jumped out of his car, started running away. They've chased him down, shot him 3 times in the back. Just left him for dead. And then 2 days later, I'm arrested for conspiracy to murder and remanded into custody.
This is where things, we mentioned before, there's no honour among criminals, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Right. William Moore gave you information that he's located the person that's ordered the hit on you.
Yeah.
You've gone out.
The thing there was,
Yeah.
he'd been banging this fella's wife for 10 years. Having an affair with the kid's wife for 10 years.
So that was his. Well, we'll come to it in a second.
That's how it worked out. He's killed two birds with the one stone.
But check this out for the audience who are new. So William Moore told Darren that, listen, I've located the person that's done the hit on you. He's here. It's David Regan, basically, right?
Yeah.
You've gone out, did the job, and you come out. It turns out William Moore is the one that did the hit on you.
Yeah. And now I'm in custody on the woman that's having an affair with William Moore. Has gone into the police station and made numerous statements about me that were completely untrue. So now I'm in custody on the back of this woman's... This woman was the ex-bird of the victim who I'm in custody for. It's weird. It's a mad thing what he done.
It's mad, his motivation, how he got back in touch with you, snaky shit, man, just getting in, using
Stole.
you again.
Yeah,
this is what this one, the reason I'm going deep on this and just highlighting it from a different perspective is that this is the reality, guys. This is the business.
But you know what, mate? Don't forget I'm 21, 22, 23, and I'm up against the old school multi-millionaires in the city. So when I'm challenging this Willie Moore, I'm not just challenging Willie Moore.
Yeah.
You know, he's been given that firm drugs, that firm drugs, that firm drugs, that firm drugs for the last 20 years. So now I'm up against basically every top organised crime group in the city is turning on me. Normally what would happen is, if me and you as criminals got into a dispute and we were in custody, we'd go through the criminal channels and get the charges dropped. And we'd get back out on the streets and deal with it. But that shower of shit and the people, all these gangsters in Liverpool, they all purposely prevented me getting out. They all could have got charges dropped. They all could have got me and Willie Moore back on the streets to deal with this as criminals. They all refused to do so. Do you understand?
Yeah.
They all got reached out to. If it was another criminal and he reached out to them, they would have went out the way to get this solved on the streets.
Yeah.
But because it was the G's, and there was loads of people shook of the G's and they couldn't do fuck all and they weren't making as much money because the G's are there. It was in all their interest to get us took out the picture any way they could.
To eliminate one more threat, basically.
Even if it's jailing, even if it's snitching on you or getting their dealer to snitch on you. You know, so they don't take the full responsibility of snitching. But I've been in custody numerous times for drug dealers who have snitched. Not because they wanted to, but because their main men have told them, you need to get them put in custody, and they've gone and done it.
Yeah. So, Darren, ultimately, right, that retaliation led to the death of an innocent man.
Yeah.
Right.
2 innocent men. You know, young Craig, 18-year-old kid, managed the under-11 football team, train him 3 times a week. Boss, decent kid, no criminal bone in him at all. He was innocent. The difference with Craig being innocent and David Regan being innocent, David Regan was a full-blown drug dealer and had been the majority of his life.
Right.
And he was involved with the right organised crime group. So when William Moore has put this right organised crime group in the picture, it made sense.
Yeah.
Obviously, unfortunately, it wasn't. He had nothing to do with it. He had nothing to do with the murder of Craig. And it's just one of them things that I don't regret. I don't regret anything.
Right.
I don't regret nothing I've been through. The majority of the shit I've been put through was because people were coming for me. I haven't just woke up one day and thought I'm attacking people. Most of the shit you know me for is because I've had to stand my ground against people, to be honest with you. And it's still the case now. I'll never back down.
By the way, how did you find out it was William Moore?
By him. So now I'm in jail. I'm in custody now.
Right.
I'm on remand for threats to kill.
Yeah.
Not conspiracy to murder yet. And whilst I'm in Walton, I speak to a few people, and one was Tommy Gilday's wife, Kathleen. And I'm speaking to her, and she says, you know who it is, don't you? I'm saying, yeah, I mean, no. It's the fat cunt with the glasses, meaning Willie Moore. You what? So now for an hour or so, I'm in Walton. I'm in a cell with a kid called Paul Chaddy. And I've got his phone. And I'm trying to get this Willie Moore's fucking number. So I go through a few girls, Sarah Kendrick, Jodie Kelly, Kirsty Moore. Now Willie Moore's on the phone. And he's denying it at first. But then I scream at him, you fucking rat, I'm getting not guilty, I know it's you. Because I believe Kathleen, she's never lied, and I don't expect her to start lying now. So I've just put it to him, and he comes at me, you cheeky fucking cunt, you think you're getting out? I'm getting you lifed off. And when you're lifed off, I'm getting your ma persecuted and Danny shot dead. This is what he's telling me, I'm in Walton. So I'm still reaching out to the criminal organisations out there, your Paul Annas and other people like that, saying, look, get this fucking sorted, get these charges dropped, let us get out. Shithouse. He knew what was coming. He knew, mate, there was bodies going to drop all over the gaff, and he didn't want us out. So he went out the way to get me jail.
Yeah.
Backfired on him because he got a 35 rec. Waterhouse got a 35 rec, and his brother went guilty and got a 20 straight. So again, I got me 18. I never had no code Ds. I had 5 code Ds to begin with. All my code Ds got acquitted. I ended up getting convicted on hearsay, second-hand hearsay. Got me straight 18, which was a shock, because I've been getting told you're getting a 30 to a 35 rec. So when I've got a guilty, I'm fully expecting to be given 35 mandatory.
Yeah.
And the judge turned around, shocked everyone. I'm sentencing you under the old law, which means I've got a choice, a discretionary life sentence or a long-term sentence, determining.
Right.
I've got to look at your history, and I'm looking at your history. Your only violent offence on your thing is a threat to kill against the prison officer in HMP Walton, which you received 15 months for. But because the house wasn't burnt and the officer wasn't injured over the threat, I don't deem you a threat to the general. I don't deem you a threat to the general population in the city of Liverpool, but I deem you a threat to the criminal fraternity in the city of Liverpool. For that reason, I'm giving you a determined sentence.
That must have been a relief.
Oh, massive.
Yeah, because
Huge.
a lot of people don't know the trial period.
Wow, that weren't the only trial, though,
that's
mate.
a punishment in itself. Do you know what I mean?
So I went into custody in 2-4
Yeah.
and weren't convicted until the middle of 2-7.
Yeah.
But for them 2.5 years on remand, conspiracy murder weren't the only indictment. I had conspiracy to possess firearms, conspiracy to apply Class A drugs twice, conspiracy to kidnap, conspiracy to blackmail with firearms. I had like 14 different offences. The one with the least evidence, I got a guilty on.
Mad.
All the other ones which had evidence, which could have got me life off, got not guilties on.
So that put you in prison, 18-year prison sentence.
Yeah. Buzzing.
Yeah.
Buzzing, mate. Honest to God, you don't understand the relief. I was 11 stone, right through me
Yeah.
remand. Within a month of me being sentenced, I'm up to 13 stone. That's how much stress was lifted off me.
Yeah. It's crazy, man.
Instantly. And that I've always done that.
Yeah.
Expected the worst.
Yeah.
And if anything under, I'm pleased.
They say the first week of prison is the hardest. Is that true, or how did you find it?
Depends who you are.
Yeah. How did you find it?
My first week in prison was when I was 13.
Yeah.
So now I'm
of course,
24.
Yeah, of course. You've been there, done that.
It's
Yeah.
nothing, you know, it's like these care homes and these YOY systems are exactly the same as a cons adult prison. Exactly the same. It's just an institution.
What would you say the hardest part for this particular sentence was for you? The 18-year prison sentence?
The hardest part?
Yeah.
During the sentence,
Yeah.
the hardest part of my sentence was the guilt of Craig.
And that resurfaced then?
At
At the time you said you
it never
did-
went. You know, we always felt guilty. He shouldn't have got shot dead that day. It was me, was the target.
Right.
And that's what I was carrying right through my sentence. I've only just dealt with that a few years ago, that guilty conscience.
When did the guilt surface? Because you said you blocked it out. Is it like...
The guilt was always there, you know.
Oh, was it?
You got to understand the situation there, mate. I'm carrying an 18-year-old boy with fucking 9 holes in his body,
Yeah.
crying for his mum. So it's like, it's deep, mate.
So that's what happened when he was shot. His last...
When he's being shot,
Yeah.
and now I've got him
Yeah.
in the car driving to the hospital, and he's saying, "Tell me, mum, I love her. Tell me, mum, I'm going to miss her. I'm dying. I'm not going to survive, Darren." This is what I'm getting out of him. So it's that guilt, and not many people can get over it because it's hard to accept that. It was hard for me to accept that I never pulled the trigger on Craig. I didn't take Craig with me that day to go and get killed. We went out to have a good time together, get some food, and these people have came and took young Craig's life. It's their fault. It took me years through me jail and since to establish that I was not to blame for Craig's death. And as soon as he established that, the guilt sort of left me.
Do you think the families have forgiven you?
No, they haven't. I don't think you can. Although Craig's mum's and what you got to understand with Craig's sister, not his mum. His mum I love, and there's nothing I can do about that. But his sister started saying I set the brother up and I set him up to be shot dead that day. And this is me when I've got out of custody, and I'm hearing this from people who I thought I could trust and love, and they're saying I've deliberately had their young. So it was just messy for me. I've had to cut them all off.
Okay. Did you attempt to reach out? Try to
Yeah,
make it
as soon as I got out,
Yeah.
I've reached out to him when I seen his mum, when I seen his sister, straight away. It's the first thing that I'd done it. Before I went and see my own mother, I went and seen Craig's mother.
Yeah.
Know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they were surrounded by these organised crime families.
Yeah.
And whilst I'm in custody, they're still amongst these people. You know, the person that got the 20 is now out in the same places as his mum and shit. So I just had to switch and go, you know what, fuck yous all. See yous all, sacrifice them all. You know, they're telling me to stop screaming, choose a life, not a knife.
Yeah.
Because this organised crime group's not happy with me saying it. Fuck that. If you want to stay over there, you stay over there. Same with me brothers. You're either with me or you're with them. Choose with them. See yous later. And I've never looked back. And I don't plan on looking back.
Yeah. Do you know when you came out of prison? Obviously, for example, when we started this podcast, you mentioned we were taking extra precautions regarding your well-being, of course, because you don't know what you're getting yourself into. You want to make sure you're safe. Meaning, there's an element of, even though you're giving up that life, there's an element of constantly watching your back, right? So, even though
it's not constant.
Okay.
Like it's not, I'm not sat here now.
Yeah.
But obviously, there's little things you've got to take precautions when you're Darren Gee, basically. So you sent me a studio, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah.
And you said the time was like 5 o'clock for the studio time or something, wasn't it? 4 or something.
4, I think it was.
Yeah,
Because
so,
I've been watching your story. You go to sleep at like 4 or 5 in the morning or something.
Yeah,
so I thought, let me give him some time to sleep or something.
That's
Do you know
PTSD.
What I mean? Right. No, the reason why I asked that, sorry, is just to because there was a video on YouTube of some guy attacking you with a bike seat. I don't know if
Well, this is again.
does that happen? Are you constantly like?
No. So
No.
what's happened again? Look, so when I'm on YouTube, I'm creating content, trying to make myself a bit of dough because I can't get a job because of my criminal record and me past and me notoriety, if you like. It's difficult for me, so I've got to be entrepreneurial. So I'm tapping in social medias. So I'm out there, and the people wanted to know about my childhood. So I was raised in the care system, basically, and I was in a kids' home on Lodge Lane, which is L8, Toxteth. And that day, I've gone up there with my bird to get content of where I used to live and the place I was raised in, L8 area. So while I'm down there, someone's got on me, said, "What's happening, Darren?" No, let on to me as if he's okay, but obviously he weren't. He's rang someone, I think. So when I've gone down Lodge Lane, I'm on my way back up now, and I get on the kid 200 foot down the road. I say to the camera, you haven't seen the full content, but I say to the camera, this could be danger here. Look at him on the left.
Right.
I pinpointed him fucking 100 foot up the road. So I was on him straight away, you're on it. So now, most high streets in your areas have got that drug dealer's cafe.
Yeah.
You know, a cafe that the boys' Mars opened and all the boys go there and have a food and do whatever they're doing there. This is a cafe on Lodge Lane. So now I'm outside there with my camera and you've got one of the drug dealers outside there with his hood up and all this shit. Put your camera down by this cafe. Said, my camera's not on the cafe. And that's how it started.
Right. And he started
He
attacking
didn't know
with
it was
his
Darren
bike
Gee. He hasn't gone, there's Darren Gee, I'm going to get him.
Right.
He's just seen a kid with a camera outside his place of work, basically.
Okay.
What are you doing with the camera there? Tried to smash the camera out of it.
Yeah.
As soon as he's tried to smash my camera out of my hand, well then, who are you and what the fuck do you think you're doing, you cheeky cunt? So now I'm giving it to him, telling him straight, I'll fucking weigh you in. But in the back of my mind, I know where I'm stood giving this shit. This shit kid, giving this kid shit.
Right, so this was a random...
They can be here in 5 minutes with a gun and fucking blast me to death on that road. That's the area I'm in. So he's saying all sorts. I'm going, come on then. And then I'm clicking, hang on, I'm in a dangerous spec here.
Yeah.
So I think, hang on, just get away from this. So you little shit house, start walking away because I've sent my bird's with me. I've had to say to my bird, go round to the car. So I'm going towards there now, but I think to myself, I look back and see him going for his fucking bike seat. So I take a little run up, get my GoPro, position it, put it on a bin, boss angle, and I'm waiting for him to... My intentions was to get on the corner of the street, wait for him to come past and just weigh him in off his bike and fucking belt him.
Yeah.
But by the time I turn round, he's already there in my face. So it was just a little mad altercation.
Just a little altercation.
Hit me on the arms a few times, smashed the window. And then that was it.
It wasn't specifically Darren Gee related.
No,
You just thought,
no.
I get it. Okay, that was a sort of clarification.
It was just some kids outside our gaff with a camera, and one of the kids probably hasn't had a joint and went, fucking me with the camera, and it's just gone off.
You know, in terms of like, you know, going back to the whole prison situation, right? You mentioned on the Sean Atwood podcast, one of your clips that went really viral, the one about the Islamic strength. So what did you mean by that? Like, do you want to expand a bit more, or?
What I meant is basically that, the strength of Islam within the prison institutes now.
Yeah.
It's always been the case. You know, there's only one dominant, well, there's two. And one's Scousers and one's the Brothers of Islam.
Yeah. So what, with the Islamic strength you mentioned on the Show and That with the podcast, you meant that they just stick together a lot more.
Honestly, yeah.
Regardless of what.
Examples, years ago before, tellies never used to be in prison, right? So you never had tellies. If a screw started twisting that Scouser up there, you'd have the whole landing, if not the whole wing, attacking the screw for hitting that prisoner. The tellies came in. Now, if that Scouser went on the landing and was getting attacked by 3 screws, no other kids will jump in and help him because they're all scared of losing the tellies.
Right.
So all the people that aren't practicing Islam within the prison are all shocked that they don't want to lose the tellies, whereas all the people that are practicing Islam in the prison have been given tellies but put the tellies outside the cell on the landing. They're not watching the telly. The telly's not even in the cell. So now, when a Muslim brother's getting twisted up, no one's shit scared of losing the telly. So they've still got that solidarity. They're all out defending the Muslim brother. Whereas these are all shit scared of losing the telly. So they're not out defending their brother. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that solidarity and that loyalty and that brotherhood is just, you can't conquer it.
Yeah.
There's no way of defeating it.
Are you a religious man yourself?
Yeah.
What's your faith?
I'm a man of Christ, not a man of the church. 2 different types of people. I believe in the consciousness of Christ and the body of Christ. I don't believe in the church. The church is the devil, Satanism, all that dirty stuff is what the church represents these days. It doesn't represent the body of Christ or the consciousness of Christ.
You have to educate me a bit more. So is that Catholic, Protestant, or your own
I've grown up a Catholic.
Right.
From Sunday school right through the prison system. It was Christ that basically guided me through my prison. He was the only person I had right through my prison. No family, no nothing. But then when I've got out and I went on this this thing I want to confirm about Christ, I've started visiting all the cathedrals in the country. And I ended up in Cambridge Cathedral. And along the bottom, about knee level, you've got about 101 concrete plaques which give you the story of Christ. And it tells you the church killed him. The church killed Christ. Now, since I've realised that, I'm just all about the spirit of Christ, the consciousness of Christ. And what do I mean by that is heaven and earth is here. You know, you don't go up into heaven. This is heaven, this is earth. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You've got a consciousness, your intelligence, your spirit, your soul, your energy, whatever you want to call it. You have got the ability, even as a Muslim, there's only one consciousness you can tap into. And when you hear about the return of Christ, the Antichrist coming, and Jesus comes and rises again, this is all in your mind, lah. So now, the way I think, my conscious level now, is similar to Christ's. And I believe in this consciousness. I believe in Christ. So when I die, my soul, my energy, my consciousness is going to connect to the consciousness that I believe in. So my energy is going to leave my body and connect to the consciousness of Christ. Obviously, I'll go into another vessel. In the next life, I'll go into another vessel.
Yeah.
But the consciousness that I I've got to, elevated to, puts me on the same consciousness as the consciousness of Christ. So I live my life according to Christ.
Yeah.
And when I pass away, my consciousness will attach to the consciousness of Christ. If you're living your life like the devil, if you're fornicating, if you're doing all that horrible, dodgy shit, your consciousness is attached to his consciousness, Satan, heaven and earth and all this. So when you die, if you're doing all that mad, living that shit life, that satanic life, like most of it are now these days, it's everywhere. When you die, your consciousness attaches to Satan. Mine attaches to Christ because I'm living my life that way. Yours attaches to the hellfire because you're living that way. That's what I firmly believe now.
That's what your beliefs are. Just 2 questions on that. That's it, and I'll conclude on that one. Is your beliefs, what you just articulated there, backed by scripture, like the Bible, for example, or is
Nothing
that just
to do with the Bible.
Right. Okay.
Don't believe in the Bible. Think the Bible chats major shit, mate. It's got some truths in there, but the majority of it is untruths, just to keep you conditioned, controlled, and coerced.
You know Muslims believe in Jesus as well, right?
Yeah.
Have you looked into Islam by any chance, or just out of curiosity?
I've been around Islam.
Yeah.
Most of my life, mate.
Yeah. Fair enough.
So I know the angle, and that's why,
Yeah.
you know,
What's your thoughts on the angle?
the angle where
Be honest.
every kid of Islam that I've sat down and had food with, they've showed nothing but respect for Christ. That's my angle.
Fair.
It's like if I disrespect Muhammad, there's issues. If you disrespect Christ, there's issues.
What's interesting on that is when you see, like, you know, people criticizing Jesus, the funny thing is Muslims are the first one on the streets as opposed to Christians. For example, Romania, they take the situation where in Romania where, you know, people coming out mocking Jesus, drawing pictures of him, and it was the Muslims, you know,
I've seen
defending him.
Yeah.
Ironically.
every time.
Yeah.
That's where my respect comes from, basically. You know,
Yeah.
you've got a lot of Christians that proclaim, "Oh, Jesus is God." Jesus, no, he's not.
What's the challenges that you're facing right now, or being released after prison, basically, that people should be aware of?
The challenges and when
Just being on the
I'm
street.
initially released, the
Yeah.
main thing for me is secure housing
Yeah.
for every prisoner, every single. Doesn't matter whether they're short term or long term prisoners. The main important thing for them is secure housing. I don't mean a bail hostel where you're trying to make them breach his conditions and go back to jail. I mean a proper flat, 1-bedroom flat.
Hmm.
That's been, even now, 8
Yeah.
years later, I've still not got secured accommodation.
Yeah. I don't know if you're comfortable talking about this, but
I'm struggling financially because I can't get a job.
yeah.
That's it, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
If I was able to go into full-time employment, I
Yeah.
would do.
Yeah.
And I'd survive 10 times better in this life than what I am doing right now.
Yeah. Going from like 70k a week to struggling financially, have you ever been tempted to go back to your old lifestyle?
No,
Yeah.
no. I've considered it, but no, mate.
Yeah.
It's just not worth it. And I'm not going to start being a hypocrite. I'm not
Yeah.
going to contradict everything I've gone through.
Yeah.
I've gone through an horrendous life, and you mightn't think my life's horrendous because your life might be more horrendous, but it doesn't matter. You know, we're all dealing with shit. We've all got little issues. It doesn't matter how lavish your lifestyle is. Internally, we've all got problems. The best thing to do is not judge. Don't lose your identity and love for each other. Everyone seems to be hating right now.
Yeah.
You know, you can't be a success without someone hating on you, and you might have known that kid all your life. No one's loving no one no more. It's just pure hatred all over the gaff. Isn't it?
100%, man. I totally get where you're coming from. Even little things like a podcast, you know, finding someone to support you, so on and so forth.
Solid.
It's solid.
Especially when you've gone down the path I've gone. I
Yeah.
don't give a fuck who I've offended on this path of mine, mate.
Yeah.
I'm on a mission. My mission is not to return to prison and encourage thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of kids to stay clear of that fucked up life. And that's why I've done nothing but scream about choose a life, not a knife.
Yeah.
Which is a massive, powerful initiative that's not sponsored. It doesn't get the backing that it should do because it's Darren Gee that's screaming about it.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. the amount of messages and the amount of responses I've been getting from parents and lads that's listened to my story, listened to what I've gone through, and completely rejig their life for the better, makes all this hardship and all this financial difficulties and all well worth it.
Yeah,
You know, I've got a
100%.
roof over my head. I can feed myself. I've got three beautiful children. So my life's great. You don't need money. Makes your lifestyle better. It doesn't make money makes your external life better. It doesn't make your internal life better at all.
Yeah, just brings that comfort and security, I suppose, innit?
It just makes the difficulties a lot easier to deal with.
Exactly, nicely put, to be fair.
But internally, your emotional capacity, your well-being internally is what's really important.
Yeah.
If you want to be very rich, address your moral compass. If you want to be a billionaire, elevate your consciousness. It's as simple as that. If you correct what's happening inside, everything external will fall into place for you.
While we're on a positive note, do you think by changing, how to change the condition of the youth today, what's more effective? Do you think the government needs to get involved and help change conditions, or do you think it's by sharing stories like yourself, people that live that life and coming in and try to deter the kids?
There's only everyone can have an input with the kids.
Yeah.
Everyone can make themselves useful in the lives of these children. The culture needs addressing. The music they're listening to needs addressing. But the main thing is the estates these kids are getting raised on.
Mm.
You know, they're not loved. That's just the way it is. So when I'm growing up on our estate, we're hated by 80% of the estate because we're smashing windows, we're doing mad things, drawing up hours, disrupting the community.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people turning on us in the community, but we had one or two positive women who'd come out. "You're okay, Darren? You had some food? Do you want to come in and get yourself warm?" That little element of love and care made me not switch on the estate I lived in.
Right.
Nowadays, you haven't got them pockets of love and care for these kids on the estate.
Mm.
All the neighbours, all the people on the estate are looking at them funny. Like outcasting them. And when these kids are 14, 30, they feel it. They feel a hatred from you. And they're starving. They're not getting offered food off you. They haven't got no money. They're not getting offered... As they're growing up on these estates, once they're 16 and start selling drugs, now you start asking them to stop it. Fuck off.
Yeah.
You haven't even cared for us since we've been... You want us to start considering yous now. That's why now you've got groups of kids on your estate screaming till 4 in the morning, not giving a fuck about the people on the estate because you haven't give a fuck about them.
Yeah.
So all these kids, whether that young girl or that young boy is coming from that heroin addict at the bottom of your street, and that child's house is full of dealers and heroin addicts every fucking day, so you at the top of the street stay well away from them. You don't even acknowledge the kids, and when you see the kids looking rough and poor and unfed, you're not even considering helping them because of the actions of the parents. These kids are going to switch on you later on.
Yeah.
If you're on a community and you've got a smackhead or a heroin addict or a crack addict down there and their kids are running around on the streets, unwashed, unfed, it's your duty as a parent to other children down the road to start addressing these kids if you can. Don't let them grow up and start hating on the community, because before you know it, you'll all be victims to this group of kids. Love and care for them when they're growing up, they will love and care for you, and that's the way it works, mate.
I love that, because everyone has a responsibility and no one can move away from that one.
We've all got a responsibility for the children.
Yeah.
The children are the future.
Yeah.
If we've got children fucked up on substances, fucked up on drugs, fucked up on racial discrimination and all this other bullshit, the future for all these kids is just like ours. Yeah. Shit. Yeah. If we start addressing it, this is our purpose. We're meant to go on this path and all the difficulties, address them. All the mad racism and all this shit, we should be addressing this shit as adults. So when our kids are growing up, they haven't got to suffer with the same bullshit. For some reason, everyone's just turning a blind eye. If they're not my kid, I couldn't give a fuck. When in reality, if it's not your kid, you should be giving a fuck. Every single kid needs love and care. If they don't get it, they're going to switch on the community.
100%, man. 100%. To be fair, that's a good way to end the podcast. Is there anything that you want to add, Darren, that I missed? Or
not really, mate. I just like to encourage all you little lads who are participating in this gang culture, this drill music culture, this knife culture, gun culture, drug dealing culture. You really need to understand what you're doing. And what I always say to people like yourselves, if you want to listen, you're going to listen. If you don't want to listen, you're never going to take it on board. But if you're listening, take this on board. You've got two paths in your life that's available to you as a 16-year-old kid, as a 21-year-old man. You've got two paths of life. You've got the knife life and the no knife life. The knife life path, look down it, lad. Look at everyone before you that's dealt drugs. Look at everyone before you that's carried a knife. Look at everyone before you that's carried a gun. Where are they and what are they doing in life right now? I'll tell you, if they're not in prison, they're out and about still committing crime. They haven't got a long-term relationship. They haven't got a mortgage which they're paying. They haven't got a legitimate car up the path and they're not having holidays. That path there, where that kid has started working at 16, by the time at 21, he's paying for a mortgage. He's got a long-term relationship. He's got children in his house. He's going on holiday. That is the good life, no matter how boring or poor you think you're going to be on that path of life. That is the best path of life to take. The knife life, the gang culture, all that nonsense, you're just destroying yourself and the heart of your mother. Pack it in. Change your ways. Choose a life, not a knife.
Choose a life, not a knife. There you go, guys. Listen, Darren Gee, nice one, brother, for coming on to the podcast. It's been absolutely amazing. Guys, if you enjoyed the podcast, don't forget to hit subscribe, like, and share. And until the next one, we'll see you soon.